Imagine a world where Singapore's beloved hawker culture starts to fade, not because of changing tastes, but due to the pressure of rising costs, complex policies, and corporatization. Could this actually happen? In today's news, we're covering a crucial parliamentary debate about the very future of Singapore's iconic hawker scene. Welcome to 2230, where we break down the facts, details, and critical discussions shaping our city-state. Stay tuned and let's explore why this issue is more important than ever. In his concluding speech during the recent motion debate on support for Singapore's hawkers in Parliament on the 13th of November, non-constituency Member of Parliament Leong Mun Wai brought some alarming concerns to the forefront. These issues touch directly on the sustainability of hawker culture, particularly in the long term, and challenge whether current policies are enough to ensure that the next generation will still have affordable, traditional hawker fare available. Leong, from the Progress Singapore Party (PSP), was upfront in his concerns. If some key issues aren't addressed, the livelihood of hawkers and the vibrant culture they represent may be in jeopardy. He began by questioning the effectiveness of the social enterprise model for hawker centres, expressing doubts about whether this approach is actually solving the problems it was meant to address, or if it's instead introducing new challenges. The social enterprise model, which involves private operators managing hawker centres, was intended to bring in professionalism and efficiency. But Leong argued that its corporatized nature is inherently incompatible with the traditional, free-spirited, sole proprietorship model that most hawkers are used to. Is it fair for hawkers whose skills and passions are rooted in personal entrepreneurship to be pushed into a system run more like a business conglomerate? He raised concerns about potential conflicts of interest, especially when profit-driven private operators manage these social enterprise hawker centres. What do you think, viewers? Should hawkers be managed by government bodies or private entities? Leong suggested that experienced civil servants from a government-managed body, like a new agency PSP proposed called Hawker Singapore, might be better suited for this task. This approach could allow hawker centres to thrive in a way that preserves their authenticity while avoiding the complications of commercial management. Leong also delved into the intricacies of the tender system for allocating hawker stalls. This system, which allows high tender bids to later be reduced to a lower assessed market rent, has been seen as confusing and problematic by many. Earlier, on the 4th of November, the National Environment Agency (NEA) announced a revision in the rental renewal policy for successful tenders, aiming to curb excessively high tender bids. Under the new approach, the rent for the second term will be adjusted downward, but not immediately to the market rent as before. Instead, it will be reduced by 50% of the difference between the tendered and assessed market rents. This means that for someone who bid $5,000 with an assessed market rent of $1,000, they will pay $3,000 for the second term before eventually reverting to $1,000. Leong believes this system is still flawed. He suggested either sticking to the original bid amount or going through a fresh round of bidding every 3 years. The current process, according to Leong, artificially lowers rents and contributes to rising prices in HDB coffee shops and food courts, which eventually trickles down to the price we pay for cooked food. Viewers, what are your thoughts? Should there be more transparency in hawker rental systems, or should hawker stalls go through regular, fresh bidding to maintain fair competition? Another significant concern raised by Leong revolved around manpower. He pointed out the disparity between how coffee shops and food courts are allowed to employ work permit holders, while individual hawkers are restricted from doing the same. Imagine competing with large food courts that have access to more affordable labor while running your own stall without the same options. This disparity puts traditional hawkers at a clear disadvantage, and Leong was vocal about the need to address this imbalance. He argued that hawkers should have access to similar manpower options if we want to keep this cherished culture alive and vibrant. Shouldn't all hawkers be given an equal playing field to operate their businesses, regardless of whether they are in a food court or at a hawker centre? Leong also took issue with the requirements for hawkers to offer budget meals or discounts, initiatives intended to keep hawker food affordable for the public. While the idea may be good for consumers, the burden, Leong argues, falls solely on the hawkers. Instead of requiring hawkers to absorb these costs, Leong believes the government should step in and find ways to meet these objectives without putting additional strain on these small business owners. Hawker culture has always been about more than just food. It's a reflection of Singapore's history, its entrepreneurial spirit, and its community ties. However, as Leong pointed out, today's hawkers are up against rising rental costs, manpower shortages, unfair competition, and the growing influence of corporatization. Society's expectations for affordable hawker meals remain high, but the cost pressures on individual hawkers are mounting, making the current situation increasingly unsustainable. Leong concluded with a stark warning. If these issues are left unaddressed, Singapore's traditional hawker culture, built by generations of dedicated, hard-working hawkers, may start to disappear. The influence of corporatization may be inevitable to some extent, but it must be balanced to ensure that the spirit of individual hawkers is not lost. And according to Leong, the responsibility now falls on the government to take real action to safeguard this critical part of Singapore's heritage. So what do you think, viewers? Are the current government policies supportive enough for our hawkers, or do we need to rethink how hawker centres are managed and regulated? We want to hear your thoughts. Please leave a comment below and let us know how you think we can best preserve this vital part of Singapore's culture. If you enjoyed this coverage, please make sure to like, share and subscribe to 2230. Stay tuned for more detailed, in-depth discussions that matter to Singaporeans. Your support means everything, and we can't wait to bring you more of the stories that shape our lives.